In October 2019, uh, um, I left. I guess my measure of faith had run out. Hey guys, it's Ryan the Roaster. Just wanted to kind of tell my story, how I got to doing what I'm doing. It's a two-part story, so this might be the first series, and then I might do another series for the part two. So I guess I would have to say it really began when I was about 22 years old. I encountered Jesus in a different way, and so from that moment on, I felt called to do something. At the time, I was working construction. We were building homes, doing dirt work, just grinding it out, as they say. A lot of manly stuff, a lot of fun. But I felt like I was supposed to be doing something different, and so I pursued everything in the world, different job opportunities, different things, and the doors got slammed in my face every single time. Uh, so fast forward about 8 to 10 years, I was in a group, and they were talking about industry to bring to Selma, and one of them was a coffee roasting company, and my name got brought up, and I said, well, that looks like a good idea. I said, let me pray about that. So I started praying and didn't feel led, one way or the other. It was kind of just nothing, man, And I was talking to a guy who's kind of a spiritual mentor in my life, and I said, I don't feel led either way. No doors opening, no doors shutting, just kind of there. And he said, son, he said, sometimes the Lord reveals things through the walking out, and that has just stuck with me from that day. That we're always waiting for some big sign and big answer, and a lot of times it seems like the Lord's waiting on us to take a step of faith. And so I said, I can start taking small steps. It's not going to cost anything to start researching and putting together a business plan. Just going to cost a little bit of time. So I started doing that, and it turns out I had a guy who was a distant relative who he had a roasting company in Louisiana, and so called him up and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Do you mind if I come and just see what it's all about? Because I had no idea even how coffee was produced. And he said, come on down, love to show you. So I uh, went down for a weekend or 3 or 4 days, and just watched and studied. And when I came back, man, I was excited, because I said, man, I would love to do what he's doing. And so from that point on, I really started hammering down a business plan. So in the business plan, I've got more of a type B personality, and I was getting my dad to help me, and he is very much type A personality. So it was kind of the battle of two for me, saying, I know this will work, and him saying, well, prove it to me. And so I sat down and started doing the work, and it would be in the evening time. So what would happen is I'd get up at about 6 o'clock, go to work at 6:30 in the Alabama heat, which, if anybody's from around here knows, it's miserable. But get off at about 5:30 in the evening, and then go straight to his house, and usually just eat supper with him, and then get to the mental side of things. We would sit there and hash it out till sometimes 11 o'clock at night. I'd drive back home. I was living across town. I'd drive home. I'd go to bed, lay in bed. My mind would be working. Finally fall asleep 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, get up at 6:30 and do it again. Couldn't turn my brain off during that season. And I remember after about a week of doing that, I started really praying and saying, Lord, at 3 a.m., it's like, Lord, I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to do, and I would love a sign. And I remember I was reading the Bible a ton back then, and I said, in the Bible you had angelic encounters, you sent dreams to direct people. I said, I need something like that, like something for real. And man, I prayed it, nothing happened. Prayed it the next day, nothing happened. Next day, nothing happened. And this is like at 3 o'clock, just me and him, every morning. And finally, after about a week, I was just ticked off and frustrated. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this anyway. I don't care. Whatever you're going to do, I'm going to step out and do it. And the next morning, my wife woke up and she came to me and she said, Ryan, she said, something happened to me last night, and it was so real. I got up and went around the house because I thought somebody was there. And I said, well, what happened? And she said, well, all I saw was a finger pointing in my face and a voice that said, your husband's about to start a business and it will succeed. And I'm like, man, that is insane, Kennedy, because I've been praying for something like that to happen to me for the past week. And last night I finally got ticked off. I was like, whatever, you're not going to, pity party. You're not going to do it for me, blah, blah, blah. So, that really, at that point I knew this is what I'm supposed to do. Kind of started making moves, started ordering equipment, securing loans that were needed, signed up for some training. And through this process, I remember sitting in bed one night and just praying and saying, Lord, I said, I haven't had to be creative just for the past decade of my life. I said, I have no idea what I want to name this company. It's like, I don't know. And right when I asked that, it just something popped into my head, and it was Revival Coffee Company, Awakening a Nation. And I was like, man, that's really cool, because that fits with my heart, to bring revival wherever you go. But it makes sense with coffee, because in the morning, coffee revives us. It awakens us. It brings clarity. It gets you going. It's a reason to get up, in my opinion, to get out of bed and get going. So, and then just the awakening a nation. And so it just seemed like it fit. At that point, it was like, all right, I got to sign up. I got to find somebody who can teach me for real. So sign up, paid money and signed up to go to this, roasting and cupping class. And, paid a bunch of money, have equipment ordered, getting ready to go. And I get a call, and it's this company that I signed up with. And they're like, hey, we didn't have enough people sign up. You can't go, or we're closing the class. And I called them back and I said, look, I'm moving on this thing. It's like, I've got a roaster coming here. It was like 2 weeks after the class. It's like, is there any way? And they were very gracious, and they said, Ryan, we'll let you come down and just do a one-on-one class. And so I get there, I get to, it was in Vermont, Waterbury, which a guy from Alabama up there, it's a totally different world. But I went and researching the guy who I was doing the stuff with, and he actually was like the quality control director for the Specialty Coffee Association of America. So this is like one of the top cuppers in the world who I'm sitting there training one-on-one with. Left there, went to New York. The guy who I'd gotten the roaster from I went with him and got to see his business and let him train me a little bit in roasting, and came back and jumped out of the boat. So this was October of 2014. Came in excited, had a business plan, had a ton of faith. I was like, I know this thing's going to be big. The Lord called me to it. He's going to bless me. So I hit the ground running. Only to what I would describe as a season of the disappointment of the Lord. So during that time, man, it's like I would see the Lord moving, and then I'd be disappointed. And then I'd see the Lord moving, and I'd get disappointed. For a season, I almost felt like I was going crazy. But I was in here by myself. I've always had people tell me, Ryan, you need to be some kind of minister or, a preacher, and I'm like, I can't be a preacher. But I love people, and I was isolated in what I always call now affectionately is my cave. And for 5 years, I was battling fear, battling doubt, trying to support my family. It's just a rough, it was a good but a rough season for me. And in October 2019, I left. I guess my measure of faith had run out. I had a job opportunity. My kids were becoming of high school age, and I couldn't see the way that Revival Coffee would be able to support my family. So